Have you ever thought about businesses within the vegan and plant-based industry, what they do to market themselves? Because it's one of the fastest growing industries out there. I mean, it's growing in leaps and bounds by billions of dollars a year, and it's projected by 2027. I think it's either 47 billion or 74 billion. One of the two. It's a pretty big number. And what one of the greatest challenges is for businesses to stand out and to be able to find leads for their business. That's why I'm really excited about my guest today. And Sabrina Lee actually is a LinkedIn expert, and she's a vegan, and she has merged the two together very nicely. And today we're going to talk about when she went vegan, why she went vegan, what she did to transition her business, and how she helps businesses within the vegan plant-based industry to grow through specifically LinkedIn. So Sabrina, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Kathleen. It's wonderful to be here.
And you're in the UK, correct?
I'm actually in Cape Town. I live part of the year in Cape Town and part of the year in the UK, and kind of transition between the two.
Okay. And it's morning for me, it's evening for you. And that's what I love about online now. We can connect with people all over the globe. And one of the industries and communities and markets that's really connecting with aligned values is the plant-based vegan industry. So why don't we start by you sharing when you went vegan and why you went vegan?
Okay, sure. So I've just had my 5-year veganiversary. I think it was April the 4th. And why I went vegan, I was vegetarian for about 6 or 7 years before I went vegan. That was mainly for kind of health reasons. I just really felt that it wasn't really working for me. And then I was introduced to somebody, and he was like, vegetarians don't really care. And I was like, what do you mean? We don't really care about animals. I was like, I do. He was like, no, don't. Watch this documentary. So he just actually introduced me to Dairy is Scary, which is a short documentary by Erin Yanis. And it really shifted my thinking. I just kind of woke up quite quickly, just overnight really, to the atrocities that happen to animals in factory farms and, in all kinds of farming and all kinds of entertainment and clothing industries, etc. Mm-hmm. But the thing that's really interesting about me, I don't think you know this, Kathleen, is I'm actually a dairy and beef farmer's daughter. I come from a long, long line of farming farmers, and they stretch all the way out into my aunts and uncles, and they're all animal farmers. So it's been quite an interesting transition to kind of wake up to that and come from that kind of family.
I would imagine so. Was there controversy over the fact that you went meat and dairy free with your family?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, they were actually quite accepting. They've always been quite accepting of my kind of slightly more radical views. I'm much more liberal than they are in lots of ways. So we always have kind of like different ideas about things. And my parents are actually starting to eat a lot more plant-based foods. So I'm actually inspiring them. But the chances of them ever going completely vegan is nil, I think.
Right. Well, and it's so interesting because Dairy is Scary was one of my first short films that I watched, and I was shocked because truth be told, a lot of the reports that you see about how meat is healthy, dairy is healthy, they're funded by the meat and dairy industry. So there's a lot of misleading information. That was one. What are some of the other ones? Forks Over Knives. There's
Cowspiracy was another one I watched way back then as well. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of all the different documentaries I watched because I just immersed myself into it. And I have to say that I was saddened by how misleading all the information was most of my life, because I was definitely a carnivore. And we were talking about the fact that you like the taste of meat, and I definitely love the taste of meat. And yet, once I started finding out the truth, I had to make different decisions. So what do you define as veganism from your perspective?
Yeah, for me, I think it gets conflated quite a lot with being plant-based, which is obviously, I think that just really talks about kind of more of the nutrition side of things. Mm-hmm. But veganism, I think, is much more of a philosophy and a lifestyle. And it's really about having an understanding and, aligning your values with your actions to no longer use animals or anything derived from animals in your daily life. So, changing your diet, changing what you buy in terms of clothing and any kind of entertainment and things like that. So it was a shift for me because I had to learn a lot. I never thought about things like zoos being cruel and things like that before. So you just become so much more aware of just how conditioned we are to believe that, these are kind of spaces where animals are kept safe or loved. I mean, I was always told my whole life that my family are animal lovers, but we had dogs that we loved, cats that we loved, and cows that we killed. And abused. And that's not loving animals.
Well, and it's so interesting because the show is called Plant-Based Eating for Health. And when I first started, I started as a plant-based eater, and yet I eliminated meat and dairy immediately. And it really wasn't for the ethics of it. But then as I went further and further into it, I realized that as somebody who rescues animals, all of our animals, we have horses, chickens, a rooster, we have dogs, a cat. And over the years, we've had many, many animals. They've all been rescues. And here I was rescuing animals, but I was eating animals, and I didn't connect the dots. And quite seriously, when I first started, it was September 16th, 2018. And it's amazing how most of us remember that day that we made that decision. But when I first went plant-based, I didn't want to be a crazy vegan because I thought y'all are crazy. I don't want to be that. Well, now I call myself a crazy vegan. I wear a hat when I go running that says have a happy vegan day. And I wear a shirt that says vegan AF. And so, I mean, I'm moving more and more into what it means to be vegan, even looking at buying cosmetics. Are they animal tested? Are they cruelty free? All of that really plays into it. So in your business, you've actually very successfully transitioned into working with vegan and plant-based businesses in the LinkedIn space. Give us some background on your professional career and when you made that decision to immerse yourself as the go-to LinkedIn expert in that space.
Well, it's a funny story because I never really sort of train. I don't think people do really train as LinkedIn coaches. You kind of fall into that space. And so I was actually 20 years in the charity and international development space. So I worked in all over Africa, which is why I'm in Cape Town, actually, because I had lots of, I studied in South Africa and I had lots of jobs for charities here. And I was working in fundraising and research and sort of impact evaluation and things like that. And then I started up my own consultancy company doing that kind of work, working for myself. And I got referrals and old jobs would employ me to do bits of work, but they were quite sort of succinct pieces of work. And I thought to myself, I really have to do something about my pipeline, my client pipeline. So I use LinkedIn as a way to generate leads. And so I looked into it, I learned about it, I wrote lots of content and redid my profile so that it really reflected, it spoke to the kind of organizations I wanted to work for. So I started really using it as a great big online networking space, with international people that you would never hope to meet in a month of Sundays. So I started using it to generate leads for my own consultancy business. And when I became vegan, I became so much more interested in vegan business. I set up the Vegan Business Exchange on Facebook, which is quite a big networking group for vegan businesses. I've just shifted it actually to the digital marketing group for vegan businesses because we now do a lot more digital marketing work in that group. And I set up Animal Rebellion in my hometown of Bristol. So I've done quite a lot of kind of activism things. And just in the lockdown, I started thinking to myself, what could I do that could actually be really, really helpful for vegan and plant-based businesses and ethical businesses? And I thought, let me transfer my skills in LinkedIn over to the plant-based business world. And it's been great. It's a really vibrant, growing, wonderful ecosystem of businesses. And,
absolutely.
Really great place to work.
Well, I love what I see you doing, and I'm actually in the process of doing that very thing within the podcast interview space, how to get on podcast shows, not how to start a podcast. I've worked with clients on that level, but I'm finding that a lot of people now were micro-niching into a niche and then going deeper into the niche. And I want to remind people that this is Kathleen Gage. You're listening to the Plant-Based Eating for Health show, and I have the good fortune of speaking with Sabrina Lee, and she is a LinkedIn expert expert. She is the go-to expert within the plant-based vegan space for companies that want to get lots of visibility and fill their pipeline. I also want to remind you that if you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a review. And if you're listening on any of the audio platforms, go ahead and do the same thing. Give us a big thumbs up, rate it, and do a review and let other people know about it, because then everybody's going to find out about the Plant-Based Eating for Health show. So I'm curious. I'm in the middle of my transition right now of going from being kind of an expert within a general market and, the coaches, consultants, authors, yada, 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 where it's really niche down to working with startup businesses that have equity funding that need massive visibility. And the way I do it is with the podcast interviews. How would somebody like myself use the platform of LinkedIn? I have some ideas. I'm pretty skilled, but not anywhere near as skilled as you. So I go to the experts and say, okay, what do I do? So let's list 3 or 4 things that somebody like myself could do to really target an industry and a type of business that they're looking for.
Okay, brilliant question. Well, first of all, Kathleen, I saw your video today on giving tips on how to find podcasts and that kind of thing that you want to be on. And I was like, this woman knows her stuff, right? First of all, you're getting visible on video, which is one of the best things you can do on LinkedIn. You had captions, you were giving away your wisdom, you were giving away tips and showing your credibility and your authority in your subject. So I was really giving that a big thumbs up. Really, really good. So the first thing you need is a really good profile. Your profile is your landing page for your business, your personal brand. So there's several things you can do to improve your profile, having a really good headline, having a really good banner. A lot of people don't use the banner space, which is at the top of the profile. Making sure your about section speaks to a very specific individual client that you've worked out who that person is. And that's the thing I'd say is your homework before you get going on LinkedIn, is to get very clear on who that one person is that you're speaking to, and actually speak to that one person in your content and in your profile. Make sure you've got good testimonials, recommendations on LinkedIn. Make sure your experience is all up to date and you're using the media where you can. So when I say media, I mean things like videos, documents on LinkedIn are great, PDFs and things like that. So presentations. So getting your profile, great, is a really, really good one. And then searching, using some really good search tools on LinkedIn to find your ideal client and adding them, and in a way that's kind of really authentic. So building relationships is the thing with LinkedIn. I heard a term today, I don't know if you mind me saying it, but the term was pitch slapping. Which is when you connect with someone and send a pitch straight away. And we don't want to be doing that.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
It's really important that we don't, or worse still, in the invitation message, writing your pitch. You need to be authentically interested in the client that you're speaking with. Read their profile, find out something about them, write something that resonates, and offer them something. So another key thing about LinkedIn is that you are there to help people. It's not transactional, it's about relationship building and helping. So
I want to stop you there because you said something about the profile and the banner. And I have to tell you, I heard you on Katrina Fox's group, the Vegan International Women's Network, and great group. If you're a woman in business and you're a vegan, you need to join the group, no doubt about it. And I've done some great networking there. But you mentioned about the banner, and I actually had a session with one of my clients shortly thereafter, after that call, and I had looked at your banner and it was like brilliant. And I encourage people, go look at Sabrina's banner and see what she's doing, because it's very specific about what she does, who she does it for, and there's no question. And so I had this session with my client and I said, okay, I just went through a training and here's what she recommended. We actually reworked her banner, and within a very short period of time, she got a solid lead from it. I mean, the person was like, okay, I know what you do. I know who you do it for. So I highly recommend that people take a look at your profile, because you have all the, if you will, the bells and whistles. I love the bit about don't pitch slap, because Yeah, well, kind of tongue in cheek on that. But it's true, because whenever I get somebody requesting to connect with me and they immediately go into, oh, we can help you build your market reach, we can help you do this, or we can help you write a book. And I've written 20 books. And it's like, well, obviously you didn't even look at my profile. And, so sometimes I think that when we approach somebody too quickly with what our service offerings are, it turns them off very quickly, especially if there's such a mismatch about it. Now, in connecting with people, I actually talked to somebody recently who recommended, and I want your take on this because I know how I feel about it, but they said, connect with 40 to 50 people a day, and you don't need to put anything in the notes part, just press connect, connect, connect. And my feeling is I want people to know that I really want to connect with them because of who they are. So I take a little bit longer. I would rather connect with 5 rock solid people who fit the criteria of the people I want to work with. And they're also aligned with my values around being a vegan. And so I actually look at their profile and I mention something about their profile that I have in common with them. For example, I'll say, I noticed that you're a vegan. I look forward to connecting with you because I like to connect with other vegans. That's usually how I start it, and that really gets their attention. What's your take on it?
I actually 100% agree with you. So it's very contentious. There are quite a lot of people that think the bigger your network, the better. And obviously, the more people that are in your network, the further your content will go and the more people that will see it. But I also genuinely agree with you that it's better to have a small number of really solid people who are really your ideal client, who you've managed to have an actual authentic conversation with, because conversations are what it's about on LinkedIn as well, rather than, as you say, just spray and pray kind of,
I love your little sayings. It's like pitch slap, spray and pray. And I like that. Those are great. We're going to be putting those in the show notes.
Well, there you go. They're quite handy. You'll probably use them quite a lot from now on. But that's the thing. It is a bit spray and pray when you're just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to connect with anyone. I agree. I have certain searches that I do for particular ideal clients of mine. And I have a kind of template that I tweak for things. And I will go in and have a look at their profile and find something that resonates. And I can ask them a question because people like to talk about themselves. It's nice to ask somebody a question in that first instance.
Okay. Well, and what's really amazing, I've connected with some amazing CEOs in a way that normally you wouldn't connect with people at that level so quickly. But because I say, okay, I like, for example, Loss from 50 by 40, which is an organization by the year 2040, they are trying to get 50% of the world population on sustainable eating patterns. And it's a phenomenal organization. I just reached out to him and we had a great conversation. We've connected. We stay in touch with each other. That never would happen by just sending out an invite and hoping that he connects with me. Now, something I see a lot of companies do is they say, we're hiring. And as a consultant, what would you recommend to somebody who you have the skill set they're looking for? You may not want to get hired full time, maybe you do, but you definitely have the skill set they're looking for. How would you approach it if you see we're hiring, and let's say they're looking for marketing strategies or LinkedIn strategies? What's your take on that, and how would you approach it?
Okay, first of all, if you're kind of looking for opportunities, you need to make sure that your profile is very clear about what you can offer. So it's about what you can do and how you can help, how you can solve a problem. So I see quite often if someone's kind of looking for a position, they'll have open to work and kind of say they're looking for opportunities. But the thing is people are not out there on LinkedIn looking to give people opportunities. They want their problem solved and they want their desired result to be achieved, right? So I would, again, as you've just said, amazing, just connect with people who sort of work for the organization. Mention something like, for example, if they ran a webinar or something like that, make sure you've watched that, or you've gone and had a look on their website. You've got something to talk about, a talking point. Bring in things that like really are relevant to the organization, and you can show what you can do for them. And I don't be afraid to put out content that really does show what you can do, especially even if you are looking for a new position. It's great if you can put up, articles about things that you're good at and things like that. So LinkedIn is the place to is also a bit of a place to show off. I mean, it's, you don't have to be humble. You can,
Right.
know what you're capable of. Yeah.
Well, it's so amazing because people, they look at the influencers and they say, oh, they're just they've got so much visibility and people know who they are. Well, they worked at it. They kept putting content out, like Gary Vee, for example, every day is putting content out. And I want to remind people that this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. And I'm speaking with Sabrina Lee, who is the go-to LinkedIn expert for the vegan and plant-based industry. And Sabrina, how do people get in touch with you? What would be one location where they could find all your social handles and things of that nature? Would it be LinkedIn or is it a website?
I would say the best place to find me is on LinkedIn, actually. Do you want me to read out my LinkedIn URL? Or?
We'll put it in the show notes. You can read it out, but we'll also put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that's fine. If it just goes into the show notes, but you can probably find me under Sabrina Lee on LinkedIn, and that's probably the best place. And then my website is www.theimpactagency.org.
theimpactagency.org. We'll make sure that goes in the show notes also. And now, where do you see the industry going as far as the vegan plant-based industry? Because there's more and more awareness. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with that. I'm currently reading the book, The World Peace Diet by Dr. Will Tuttle. Amazing, amazing book. And I'm encouraging people to pick up a copy of that book and educate yourself about what really goes on with animals and why going vegan is a good idea. So where do you see the industry going?
To the moon and beyond, because I just really think like the future has to be vegan. The future has to be plant-based. We don't actually have a choice. When you look at the destruction that animal agriculture is causing to the planet and, our scarce water supplies, our scarce land supplies, deforestation, there just isn't another way. And we're seeing so much innovation happening in the alternative protein space with cell-based meats, cell-based fish and other kind of things like that it's just all happening in a way that's just solving all these massive global problems that we're having.
Right.
And there doesn't be any other way than to just get behind it and just see it boom.
You are so spot on. And my commitment is to do whatever I can to raise awareness. That's why I do this podcast show. I have a blog. I have a Facebook group. I just joined Clubhouse, which, I had to make sure I wouldn't go down that deep, dark rabbit hole, but to find ways to integrate everything. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm very active on Twitter, but I do what I can not to spread myself too thin, but to be very strategic in how am I raising the awareness. And the frustration for me resides in the fact that the majority of the population either doesn't know what the truth is, or they call us radical, when to me it seems kind of radical that you would eat in a way that they're going to rip your heart or your chest open to do open heart surgery instead of changing what you're consuming. How do you see, speaking of Clubhouse, how do you see Clubhouse fitting into the integration into what you're doing with LinkedIn? Is there a connection? And if so, what would be a strategy somebody could use?
Kathleen, do you know what? I've never been on Clubhouse.
Okay.
I just got invited today and I'm excited to go in and have a look because I haven't actually gone down that road at all. Like you say, the rabbit hole of Clubhouse.
I just joined over the weekend and I waited because I thought, okay, it's another, big hype social media platform. And I had people saying, Kathleen, there are so many vegans and plant-based eaters on there, and there are podcasters, and it's a good place for you to be. And I thought, let me do my research first. And that's what I did. And then I found out I needed to get a new iPhone. So I went down to the iPhone store over the weekend, got it. And I have to tell you, if you're strategic about it, then you're going to get the value. And it's like anything with LinkedIn, with Clubhouse, with Facebook, whatever. And I love the fact that you specialize with LinkedIn. What are some other tips that you can give people on really how to get the most impact and value for their time spent on LinkedIn?
Okay, so I would, in order for you not to go down the rabbit hole of LinkedIn, I would also have a kind of 30-minute a day routine that you have. And I would write my content. I write my content on a Monday morning. I do 2 weeks worth of content and I post Monday to Friday. But if you're new to LinkedIn, I would suggest 3 times a week is fine. Put up your piece of content, connect with, like you say, search for the people that are your ideal client and connect with them, writing an invitation message, respond to any messages in your inbox, but also comment on your ideal client's content, because comments are also content, and they're very important actually, because you're building that conversation. So that's really critical. But just consistency, authenticity, being as visible as possible. If you're good on video, like you, Kathleen, I would say do videos. And
I want to address the whole thing about being good on video. There was a day that I was terrible on video, quite seriously. I look at some of my old videos, I'm like, oh, that hurts bad. But it's like anything, the more we do it, the better we get. And if you're not good on video and you know that it would serve you to reach your market, it's really getting beyond our own ego and looking at how we can serve the market. Get some good coaching. And speaking of which, I'm sure you are open to having people reach out to you about your consulting. Do you have anything that you can give people that would encourage them to get on your list? What is your process for that?
Yeah, so I have a few things. I have a profile checklist, so that makes sure that you've got an all-star profile, but it goes beyond that actually. All-star is the kind of the one you need in order for your content to be pushed out. But there's lots more things you can do to make your profile really strong. And I have a step-by-step profile guide. And also, if anyone wants more support, I can happily do a 5-minute kind of audit of your profile as well.
Wonderful.
I do a video profile. And my main signature offer is I do a 4-week coaching and training program. It starts at the beginning of every month. And we look at all the main 4 pillars of LinkedIn that you need to start really generating leads on LinkedIn.
Okay. And how would people access all this information?
Best thing to do is to contact me through LinkedIn.
Okay. I love that, because you walk your talk. It's like, just go find me on LinkedIn. It's real simple. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
I just hang out there.
Well, I have to say, I'm so grateful that I've met you, and I'm so grateful we're connected, because I love what you're doing, and I'm kind of following in your footsteps I've got 35 years in my industry. I've got 27 years in my business. And since going vegan and really identifying as a vegan, my commitment is to do all I can to help companies raise their awareness, because I'm very good at what I do. So why not do it with the people that I'm aligned with? And so in closing, what are your final thoughts for people around LinkedIn, around being vegan, and around just growing with their own passion and being aligned with it?
Around being a vegan. If you're not already a vegan, really get some help and support, because it is a phenomenal way to live. It's like having woken up to a lot of lies, and it's just a really, really great lifestyle. You'll feel so healthy. And around LinkedIn, I just think it's a brilliant platform. I think your ideal clients are on there. I encourage people to just try it, see it as a challenge, opportunity for growth and development, and jump on there. And if you're interested in setting up a business which is related to veganism, I'd highly encourage you to do so, because I think the future really is vegan.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. And I want to remind people one more time, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. And please go ahead and leave a review and give us a thumbs up on YouTube, on all the audio platforms. I've been talking with Sabrina Lee, who is the go-to global expert on how to get visibility on LinkedIn, how to optimize your time on LinkedIn for the vegan and plant-based market. I encourage you, reach out to her on LinkedIn, and I encourage you, try veganism. And it's a way of life. It's not just a diet. So anybody who thinks this is a diet, it's not a diet. It is truly a way of life. And it's about being compassionate to the animals, the planet, and to yourself. This is Kathleen Gage, wishing you a great day and be healthy.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.